Okay, you've purchased an adjust-a-bench leg set, and now it's time to assemble it. I'm going to run over the tools we're going to need to do so. First, we're going to need a 9/16" socket and ratchet. We're going to be using a set of vice grips. We're also going to need a 9/16" open-end wrench. We're going to need a 1/4" Allen wrench. We're going to need a tape measure, possibly a hammer. We're going to need a drill with a 3/16" bit. And we're going to need a 3/8" socket. I'm going to be using an impact driver, but this can also be driven with a ratchet. And we're ready to assemble. Okay, we've made our pair of adjust-a-bench rails to the appropriate length, and we've cut our 4 threaded rods to the appropriate length, which is 3 1/4 inches over the length of our rails. And now the first step in assembly is to apply a washer and one of our Nylox nuts to one end of each of those 4 threaded rods. And to do that, I'm going to grip the rod with my vice grips, and then I'm going to use my 9/16" socket and ratchet to insert the nut until about 1/8 of an inch of threaded rod protrudes through the nut, just like that. Okay, we've got Nylox nuts and washers on all of our threaded rods. Now we begin the actual putting together of our adjust-a-bench base. So what I want to do is feed the threaded rod through the rod holes in our leg sets, and then through the dados that we have cut in our rails. Now I want to feed the free end of the rods through the rod holes in the second leg set and apply my second set of washers and nuts to the free end of the 4 threaded rods. Okay, now that I have the nuts started on the threaded rod, I want to grab my vice grips again and my 9/16" ratchet and socket. Now I'm going to use the vice grips to grip that 1/8" of threaded rod which is protruding through the first nut we installed. And I'm going to grab that threaded rod, not the nut, but the end of the rod, with my vice grips. And what that's going to do is stop the rod from spinning when the nylock nut insert begins to engage with the thread. We want it to engage at both ends so that those nuts don't vibrate loose as you're using your bench. Okay, so I have tightened the nuts on all 4 threaded rods, so my base is basically assembled. Now we come to the point where we need to attach it to the underside of our bench top. Now, to do that, I want to gain access for my tools. To do so, I'm going to grab the rotator bar and rotate it out of its tooth and lift, adjusting the height of the leg sets. Do that at both ends. And it's important that both ends are raised to the same level. Okay? Having done that, now I may need my hammer. What I want to do is look at my mounting brackets and make sure that they're flat on the bench, unlike this one. Sometimes during shipping, although these mounting brackets have been clamped in the appropriate position for your convenience, sometimes they get knocked out of position during shipping. So what I want to do at this point is tap them into a flat position on the underside of the base. Now, I need my tape measure, and I want to position the base the way I want it on the underside of my top. Now, in this case, I want the bench base centered in both the length and the width of the base. It doesn't have to be that way. Take into account what you're going to be doing with your bench. Take into account your vise placement, any dog holes you may be applying to your bench top. And keeping those in mind, position the base where it makes sense. Obviously, you want to be able to have access to the foot pedal, which disengages the ratchet mechanism. But really, it's up to you where you position this. Okay, I'm happy with that. I've positioned the base. All my tabs are flat. Now I'm ready to drill. So I'm taking my 3/16" bit and I'm drilling holes in the center of each mounting hole. Now I do that in all 4 positions, and then I want to use my 3/8" socket. In this case, I'm using an impact driver, which speeds things up, but you can use a ratchet and socket as well. Okay, we do that in all 4 positions. And then before installing our pedals, the last thing we do is loosen the clamping nuts, which are holding the mounting brackets in place for shipping. And now the mounting brackets are free from the trays, and they'll be able to pivot and slide as is necessary. And now we're ready to install the pedals. Let's begin installation of the foot pedals by unwrapping the sash chain. Make sure there's no twist in the chain, and then install the pedal by putting the hook in the safety spring through the loop in the last link of the sash chain. Then we want to take our shoulder bolt and install it through the pivot point in the pedal, and then install the threaded end of the shoulder bolt through the mounting slot in the leg set. Now the mounting slot is a slot instead of just a round hole to allow us to properly tension the sash chain. At this point I want to install my nylox nut and finger tighten it, and then I want to apply the 1/4 inch Allen wrench to the shoulder bolt, and then before tightening I want to slide the pedal assembly up or down in the mounting slot until, with the pedal in its resting position, the safety spring is just about to exert tension on the sash chain. And at that point, I want to tighten the nylox nut, and that should provide us with the ideal degree of tension on that sash chain. So let's see if that's worked for us. Very good. So we get complete disengagement and then full re-engagement of the ratchet mechanism. Now the last step in our assembly process is to install the black plastic nut covers, which are used simply to make the bench look pretty. And having done that, we're then ready to invert our bench and go to our woodwork.